But today's a very special day. It's Tell Your Story Sunday. So this is an opportunity. I honestly would like you guys to do it year-round. We always have an open mic up here. I mean, even in the middle of the music or my sermon, if you got something to share, come on up and take the mic. And that's how we roll. But I know that's kind of uncomfortable because you feel like you're kind of out of place. So once a year, I like to do this Tell Your Story Sunday, an opportunity for you to get up and give testimony of what God's been doing in your life. So whether you talk about your salvation testimony of when you first met God and He came into your life, or whether you talk about what He's done in your life this week, it's really entirely up to you as far as what you share. But it's always an encouragement to hear testimony of what God's doing in other believers' lives, and we don't do it enough. So without further ado, and if you get a whiff of potluck, I apologize. I know we got chili and enchiladas, and if the testimonies get too long, we might take a break and eat some plates and then continue, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah. All right. The floor is open.
I'm going to talk a bit. I think it was it last night?
Friday night.
Friday, we went to this church. What's the name of it?
Word Alive. Went to see Keith Luker.
Word Alive, Keith Luker. And when I was worshiping, I kind of got so like caught up with the music and just thought about God, and He healed me, and He said, "You are healed now." But we prayed at the end of it, and I went up there and sat down at the stage like an altar, and obviously I felt Him touch my head, but it was kind of embarrassing and weird. Who's touching my head? But when I was doing it, He said, "You can surrender to God right now at this stage for your altar." And I started praying. I surrendered Him to take the soul from me and everything. And Jesus just spoke to me, and I stopped and listened. And He said, "You are now welcome in my kingdom. Just don't let the enemy take the soul from you. And He's the Spirit, and you're welcome in my kingdom. You're welcome." And I just broke down for a minute because it's so weird that He would just say that after all the things I've done. Saying, "Nah, I don't want to listen to you. It's just, I'm going to ask my mom and dad instead and my parties and stuff." He would just say, "You're welcome in my kingdom," and heal me. It's just so powerful the first time you experience it actually saying that. It's just so, man. Is this a misunderstanding? Yeah, so there you go.
Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." And that was my daily reading, daily Bible verse on March 13th, which some of you know was the day that I met with the neurosurgeon in Oklahoma City. And I saw that verse, and everything kind of just clicked into place. I felt kind of dumb because it was something that I should have seen all along, I guess. Because we already know that God wants the best for us. But we'll go back a couple of years here. Some of you know that we had a break-in. We had this guy in our house while we were home, inches away from Guinevere. And it scared us and made us feel violated, somehow weak, I guess. We chased him away, and we chased him down the street. And it was very good. Yeah. So, anyway, you might think, why would God let that happen? Why would let some strange person come to our house? And I've been thankful ever since that all he wanted was stuff, because Glenville was right there and didn't even know he was there. But Glenville was afraid to be at home alone, so we enrolled her in martial arts. And she really liked it, so we watched a class one night, and I thought it looked like fun, so we joined two. And after that, I led to getting into shape, and I decided to start running again. And one of my goals was the Spirit of Survival Marathon, and I did that in October. And also swam and all of that. Anyway, it caused us all to get into shape. Now, when I was training for the marathon, probably early in September, maybe late August, I started having issues with numbness in my hands and feet, weakness, fatigue, to the point where the Wednesday before the marathon, I sat at the dinner table and cried and told me, I don't think I can do this, because the more I do, the weaker I feel. And he, of course, said, no, you're doing this. And been training so hard, you're going to do it. And I did it, and I felt really good for most of the race. I did 10 miles, and I was like, I still feel really good. And then about a mile later, I'm like, oh. Yeah, that hurts. Not too long after the marathon, I started experiencing seizure-like episodes. My whole body would shake. But I'm fully aware when this happens. So, went to a doctor here in Mountas, never saw him, always saw his nurse practitioner. She decided I had restless leg syndrome. Started treating that. I went back to her, said, this medicine's not working. It's my whole body. Yeah, well, it can be your whole body. Here, take the same medicine, but stronger. So we were talking to a good friend of ours, Minnie, Alex. And she didn't say anything. She just looked at me and said, you need to call my neurologist. And she gave me his number. And I did. And long story short, he ran all these tests looking for brain tumors, MS, heavy metal poisoning, pernicious anemia, which is the body's inability to process B12. And it did kind of line up with all of my symptoms. And everything kept coming back negative. And he had scheduled me to do an all-day EEG when I woke up one day and I was in such pain. My back, it came around to my chest, I couldn't move my arm, and I noticed that I couldn't feel my hands and I didn't have any strength. So we went to, by the time Matthew got home from work, I couldn't even move. So he took me to Dr. Tran, who immediately admitted me, thinking I'd had a heart attack. Which, of course, all the heart stuff came back good. My heart's nice and strong. Yeah. So, did a chest x-ray and an MRI of my head again, but this time he included my back. When he did that, he found spinal stenosis, which is a degenerative disease that it causes narrowing of the spinal column, which basically means that my vertebrae are choking my spinal cord, causing all of this. So we went and got referred to a neurosurgeon in Oklahoma City. I have surgery scheduled on the 8th, which I'm very nervous about, but so when you look at that verse, that God does all things for good, we had to work in so that we would get into shape. And this disease that I have probably wouldn't have been found for several more years, and I wouldn't be in the shape I am to heal from. Because I know that I was 220 pounds, and my exercise was going from the car to the house. I thought, climbing the stairs at work instead of taking the elevator, I'm doing good. Yeah. So, when I saw that verse, it was like God saying to me, see, there's a reason. You asked me. Sometimes he does tell us the reasons. You know, sometimes we won't know for a long time. But when I look back, I realize that, and this is where this song touched me, is I never doubted that he would get me through this, whatever it was. I knew that, you know, if it was MS, he would help me deal with it, you know, whatever it was. I mean, even in my deepest, darkest, nights are always the worst, because I have the seizures and my body goes numb, and I have nights where I was afraid to fall asleep, because nobody knew what it was, and I was afraid I wouldn't wake up. Before shit, I'd wake up paralyzed, because I'm already trapped here in an earthly body who wants to be trapped in an earthly body that doesn't move. That was my biggest fear, and somewhere in this mess. I have another verse. Of course, you know, then you might say, well, what's the reason for you having this disease? I don't know yet, but I suspect it has something to do with it, and this is my confession part. You know, as an athlete in high school, I was an Olympic hopeful. I was in really, really good shape. And even when I wasn't in good shape, I had very little tolerance for people with invisible diseases. You know, I mean, you know, I can look at Misty and go, wow, you know, she really deals with a lot every day, but there's people that have fibromyalgia, arthritis, you know, things that, and I've always had little tolerance for that. I kind of, in the back of my head, even though I try to be sympathetic, in the back of my head, I would go, oh, quit your whining. Just get up off the couch and quit your whining and go do something. So this may be the reason that I have this. It's my lesson to be a little more empathetic. It's hard to admit, because I always do try to be sympathetic and caring, and it's hard to admit that I felt that way about anything. So, there's the other verse. Romans 8:32. He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also, along with him, graciously give us all things? And even though I'm scared to death of the surgery, I'm afraid to go under the anesthesia, I know that this is the start of the healing that God is giving me. And also giving me tolerance.
I didn't want to come up and say anything, because right now everything that we've got going on in our life is revolving around this. But on that note, I have no negative vibes at all about the surgery. None. The surgeon himself walks into the room, no tablet, no clipboard, no laptop. Sits right down in front of her, I mean, like this, and says, tell me what's going on in your life. Any doctor I've ever been with has been so busy that they've got something that they're doing. They're trying to figure you out while they're thinking about the other person in the other room and all this other stuff. And I mean, besides Mindy, who is a healer of God, in my opinion, comes up and touches you and goes, okay, that should be good. Whoa. You know, and I mean, it's like you can feel her praying over you. Somebody beside. Mindy's a gift, but this guy walks in and says, what's going on in your life? And then listens. Doesn't interrupt. Listens to everything. Oh, I did this, I did that, I feel this, I've got seizures, I've got neuropathy, I have weakness, and fatigue, and fear, and everything. And he goes, okay, well, I want to let you know, I've seen your MRI, and I think that you can live with this. And she accepts it. She starts to cry, but she accepts it. You can see it. I can feel it on her. She's like, okay, okay. And it's the fear of what was to come. Oh, am I going to need this surgery? What's going to happen? What's going to happen with the results? Is it just going to come back? Everything that happens for a reason. So why is this happening now? Everything is going through her head, and I can feel it. And he starts explaining a few things, and I said, wait. You ever take a kid to your mom's house and the mom acts differently when you got company? Well, she was doing that to him. She was being stronger for him. She wasn't acting the same way. I said, look, she can't even open a Gatorade bottle. And he stops and he looks at her and says, I'm sorry, I should have asked this already. Do you have problems with buttons? She goes, yeah, I have zippers. He goes, no, you need this surgery. And she started crying even more. But this was more of a, okay. And there was a sigh of relief, but it was the fear was still there. You kind of felt this balance of it. He runs out of the room, comes back in with a box of tissues and gives it to her. And then starts explaining, basically, I can fix you. I can fix it. You'll get your hands back. You'll lose the pain, the neuropathy, everything. You'll get it all back. And she asked the question, well, it's degenerative. Is it going to be short term? Is it going to come back? And he said, no, this is a 100% fix, permanent fix.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
On the vertebrae is working.
But the thing is that it's a fix of the issues that you've got right now. And then he goes, stands up, looks me in the eye, shakes my hand, says, you're nice people, I want to fix this for you. She goes to shake his hand, and he goes, no, give me a hug. And he said, let's get this scheduled. Runs out, the nurse comes back in with the clipboard and the laptop and the tablet and everything. And, okay, oh, Mrs. Holmes, I'm so sorry that April 8th is the soonest we can get you in. Book it! I'm thinking October of next year. I'm thinking that it's going to be like something that we have to put off and deal with for a longer period of time. And here in a couple of weeks, actually next week, you get to go up and talk to them. Blood work, post-op, or pre-op. Yes. On the 2nd of April, she goes up. And on the 8th, she goes in for surgery. On the 9th, she walks out on her own. What has God done in our lives as a whole has increased our knowledge. It's proof in medical science. A kid that goes in for his tonsils out, back when I was a kid, spent weeks in the hospital, ate Jell-O for a month, and ice cream. Oh, you got to eat ice cream. And then you graduated to mashed potatoes. And if you were lucky, your mom would make a meatloaf and blend it with the mashed potatoes because you wanted some kind of meat flavor. It wasn't a few weeks ago that a nephew went in for tonsillectomy. 2 hours later, he's out, and 5 hours eating cold pizza. Going in for, in my consideration, my opinion, major neck surgery. Walking out on her own the next day. Where 10 years ago, Rob Wine, Rob and Patty Wine. Rob Wine had neck surgery. Similar, not stenosis, but he had to have the same thing. They go in and made an incision from here to here, move the esophagus around, and go and fix everything. And then 3 weeks later, he's walking out of the hospital with a neck brace, and for 2 months, he can't do anything. She's going to have an incision this big. twice as many vertebrae done as this guy does. And they're supposed to be able to go back to work in 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna make you stay on for 8.
I wanted to quit a job. I told her last night, I said, look, I work all the hours that I'm working right now because if I can get this income, you can quit. Find something online that you can do, crochet, make your sweaters. She made her little...
So, and food.
And food. You could. Make a food charity, food ministry, and cook for the Air Force kids that are away from home.
Sam agrees. Sam with that.
Long story short, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. I would be dead in a ditch, in prison, or worse, alive and living with everything I've done. There's a lot to my story that you'll never know because I fled from it. We don't need to know.
That's past.
It doesn't matter who I was. It matters who I am. And her faith in God is what brought me back. What brought me to. I never was there. So this whole thing about people, I have a step above you. I'm a benefit or a plus or whatever. I'm trying to think of the word, but it's I have an advantage over people who have been with Christ their whole life. Because what I know that God you are for real, the song she sang, is about a person who had doubt at first and then came back. I now have doubt. My faith has never strayed from me because I haven't had the opportunity to be hurt in the church. I haven't had the opportunity to be hurt by these so-called Christians. My faith is strong in the Lord because I don't let people get to me that way. I have fled in the past. We had the conversation about it's hard for me to flee. Well, I have fled. I fled from the people who were trying to tell me that I was doing wrong in my walk with Christ. And the only person that can tell me I'm doing wrong with my walk is God. And He will tell you. I don't like to talk to guys sometimes because He tells me I'm wrong. But I'm not wrong in this. Without you in my life, I'm nothing. And you're second to only one.
And that's not good or bad.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I'm sorry, but even the Bible tells you that your kids should not hold your heart. They do. It's hard for us to let it go, but the kids should not own your heart. They need to be let go to have their own hearts, to have their own lives. The bride is the one you hold. First the church, then your wife. And that's how I believe, and that's how I live. Love you.
I didn't know what I was going to say when I got up there. Matthew's right. Almost everybody I know has been hurt in a church. Because a lot of Christians are just liars. This church I've never known to lie. This church has always been true, and I've only ever seen it help people. And I love that. I love being a part of that. I love having my family and friends help take care of all that. We help take care of other people, our friends. We always love each other while we do it.
All right, well, thank you guys for sharing. I know today was Tell Your Story Sunday, but honestly, every Sunday should be that. So please keep in mind the mic is open. I know it's weird because we're usually in the middle of a song or something, but just walk up here and put your hand out. We will stick a mic in it and quit singing and make you playing. Or if I'm preaching, same thing. Come up here and say, I want to say something. I will give you a mic. So anytime you want to give testimony to God in this place, that is something that builds each of us up, something that is encouraging for us. I wish Josh and Tanisha had made it today because Tanisha was sharing last week with me the ministry of this church and what it's meant to her. And it's like, oh my gosh, people need to hear that. Again, thank you guys for sharing. And like I said, honestly, this is every week. If God puts something on your heart to share, get up here and share it. Be obedient in that. Because somebody probably needs to hear it.
Let it go.
Let's
We didn't need to hear
Let's
that.
not.
You open the door.
Okay, I'm gonna share one thing with you guys because Friday, whenever we would see Keith Luker, he taught me something that really just gave me a new focus as far as the way that I deal with God. And it doesn't take very long. How many of you guys struggle with waiting on God? Anybody? Or is everybody good with that? Yeah. Oh my goodness. That is one of the worst things, waiting on God. The Bible tells us, I think it's in Psalm, I got it on my phone, 27. Yeah, Psalm 27. It starts out with, really sweet one. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my strength, the strength of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? And those are wonderful. I encourage you to read Psalm 27. I think that goes a long way to what a lot of folks share today. Verse 14 says, wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. And Keith Luker Friday was sharing about this wait on the Lord concept. And he tied it to baseball. I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I kind of connected with it because when I was young, I wasn't very good at really any sports, and so usually they put me way in the outfield where very few kids ever hit any balls. And this is kind of what he was talking about, because those kids, they really get to wait a lot for something to happen. So, and that's his point, is the waiting, when it talks about waiting in Scripture, it's like a waiting in ambush. Because like thieves know somebody rich is about to come along and they jump out and ambush them. He said that's kind of the concept of waiting on the Lord. It's, I don't think you're going to rob anybody, but that something good is coming. And you're waiting on that, because there's something coming around the corner and you want to be ready to pounce. And that's what he explained as waiting on the Lord is. And he talked about, in baseball, you get way in the outfield and these kids are out there, they're not really thinking. He said, they need to be waiting. They need to be expected. And he said he always encourages his kids, don't go out there praying, oh, Lord, please don't send the ball my way. I don't want the ball. Please don't send it to me. He said, when you're waiting on the Lord, you're expecting it, and you're waiting for it. So he did this thing, and I'm going to have you guys do it. Stand up. Everybody stand up.
You gotta tell Steve to wake up first.
He said, this is, in baseball, if you're going to wait for the ball, you kind of crouch your legs just a little bit, and you get your hands ready, just like this. And you wait for that ball. You guys got it? You feel it?
Got it. Walking cut.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's good. Okay, sit down. That is what waiting on the Lord is like. That's the way that we need to be poised in our spirit as we're waiting on God to do something. Is that we're anticipating good things around the corner. And he shared a little bit about faith too. Because faith is a belief that God is doing something. Faith is a belief that something good is about to happen. So as you're waiting on the Lord for those situations in your life where you're struggling, but things are hard, you need to get down in that position in your spirit, and you begin to wait so that you can ambush that good thing that God is going to bring you. So, anyway, I found that very encouraging because I struggle a lot with waiting on God. Frankly, it bores me. I'm like, really? You're God, you can do anything. Why we wait? But He's God, and He knows His timing, and I trust Him, and I have faith in Him. So, and that's all I'm going to share. You guys get a lot of personal testimony from me every week, so I'm not going to do much. All right. Thank you guys for sharing. Appreciate it. And I hope everybody was encouraged today. Got Mr. Miyagi's going. He was a teacher in Karate Kid. It's like, you haven't seen the movie.
I watched that movie.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, then you should get that reference. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for sharing. And I pray that God will bless you and meet you right where you are this week.